Welcome back to the Wacky Show, and today we are talking about the Nashville Predators, a team that has been going absolutely Minnesota wild this free agency because they just keep signing people. Well, they don't keep, they signed a bunch of people, $111 million on the first day of free agency to sign in their big boys, which I know at this point every single person knows, so I'm not breaking any news, but I just want to talk about this team and give my thoughts on their future and the signings and why I think it is an interesting decision that they made. But let's chat about it. So first of all, let's preface this with the Predators, right? Last season, they finished 47-30-5 after being a pretty expected mid-team. They get rid of Duchesne, they get rid of Johansson, with Barry Trotz taking over, it looks like they're not going to be rebuilding, but maybe more retooling. They bring in Ryan O'Reilly. They're trying to create a good atmosphere for the team. Was I guess the big thing. Really, Trotz was putting together his own regime going forward. So most people like me were like, yeah, this is a team that's going to be they're not going to suck because they still have a lot of pretty decent players, but they're not going to be absolutely amazing. But Philip Forsberg and then the Swedish meatball line with him and Gustav Nyquist, Ryan O'Reilly, Yossi having an incredible year once again. Saros is just a great goaltender. They get themselves in a playoff spot. First wild card in the Western Conference with 99 points. Fourth in the Central Division. And they finish off, they get into the playoffs, and of course, they lose in the first round to the Vancouver Canucks. In a tight series, I will say. So this is a team that it did kind of exactly do what we expected. A middling, mid team in the NHL. It's going to be, in the teens. They're definitely not going to be a draft lottery team, but they're not going to be, a superstar. And that's exactly where they ended up. But they did kind of better than I expected them to. 99 points, the first wild card spot, and overall, their numbers are interesting, right? Because in goals for, they're 10th in that category. Goals against, they're 14th. So they're not the worst at that at all. They're definitely being competitive up there. Their shots against, though, are the big one. One of the categories I kind of look at where they were 10th of giving up shots against. But of course, you see Saros, he can cover all those up. So that's why you have a good goaltender back there. Their special teams, though, 16th on the power play and 22nd on the penalty kill. So overall, it's you could tell that goals and scoring is not the issue for this team. Offensively, that was not the problem. They were definitely needing more of a defensive backup for them, right? And especially when it came to the series against the Vancouver Canucks going forward, going off of that, I don't know if the solution quite would have been offense, but apparently that's where Barry Trotz, which is funny because he is definitely more of a defense. He was absolutely a defensively minded coach in the NHL. He decides to lean into offense heavily. So he goes off of last year and goes, you know what the hell we need? We need to lean in to offense. And he signed Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and Brady Shea. Also Scott Wedgwood, but no one cares about that. Stamkos and Marchessault, two 40-goal scorers. I know this was a big news. Everyone's talking about it, really focusing on Stamkos. But if this was any other team, could you imagine any other team adding two 40-goal scorers onto their roster? I don't think anyone's really focused on that. Marchessault, which, yes, he's going to drop off. He's not going to get 42 goals again this year, but definitely 30-something goals. And Steven Stamkos, at least 30 goals as well, I would have to imagine. Especially on, this team, giving him more of, a invigoration to his career. I feel like this season especially, maybe going forward, maybe not so much, but those two guys, at least 30 goals each. Could you imagine if a team like the Kings did this? I would be, changing my whole mind onto that team. But the Predators adding two 40-goal scorers, no one seems to really care about that. Just that Steven Stamkos less the Lightning. That's what everyone has to focus on. And then Brady Shea to boot is a solid offensive defenseman. Not very bad in his own zone either. It is a lot of very good additions, but especially the offense. They add a lot of scoring to this lineup with Forsberg. That top line was absolutely stellar during the regular season, so that line's still intact. You imagine that they're going to go on the secondary line, which could be a big question. There's a lot of talk of Stamkos apparently being open and wanting to be a centerman, not wanting, but okay with being a centerman again. And that would be, I think, genius for a team like the Predators to have a lot of, younger players to have, their opportunity. Because Stamkos and Marchessault are definitely going to be carrying the load on that line. So if if you get a guy like Tommy Novak to go up there and maybe allow him to just kind of be that offensive player that he can be, or if a guy like Evangelista Parsonen or is able to jump up there and really kind of take over that role, really earn a spot and play with some veterans, I think that would be great for the Predators to really give some development to one of those guys. Would be, and they wouldn't need to get goals, right? They could just play on that line, feed the puck to those other guys, and they should be able to get some easy assists out there, right? So to me, it's like that's a very smart decision, and especially since this team needed a top six centerman, and they do that with Steven Stamkos while also adding scoring was a genius move. Like, everything about it was just so smart. Brady Shea is an interesting pickup back there because the already, like, amazing Lauzon and Carrier line back there was a great. Roman Josi now pairing him with Brady Shea. Like, you got a solid top four. And it's just, with Saros in the back, it's like, the more I look at this and the more I was making this board and just thinking about this, the more I'm like, this really works, especially when it comes to like wanting to make the playoffs, because right now going into this year, like, a lot of teams had like their big year. This was like, remember, this year was so tight between all the teams. It was who was going to take first place. It was a race between like 7 teams the entire season, right? All those teams, especially a team like the Bruins and the Canucks and the Jets, are all going to have a down year, right? The Jets are definitely going to go down there in the Central Division. The Bruins are definitely not going to be the same. They're not going to be able to do that again. The Vancouver Canucks definitely feel like they're going to be a playoff team, but they're going to take a step down as well. Like, it feels like there's definitely an opening for a team to really, like, run in there, right? And look at where this team ended up. 99 points. 99 points. All those teams that were up there in the standings were at 110. That's only 5 more wins. This team had 47 wins. The Avalanche, who finished third, had 50 wins this season, right? They had 107 points. The Dallas Stars had like 110, or the Jets had 110. The Stars had 107. Whatever, I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. But, like, you get what I'm saying. All those teams ahead of them have 50 wins, 52 wins, 53 wins. You don't think that the additions that they add to this roster, with all the goal scoring that they added, all of the goal scoring, especially when you take a look at a team like the Maple Leafs, right? How they're able to be so consistently good during the regular season every year is because of the amount of scoring they can add to the board, right? So now that they have all these goal scorers that they can go, like, consistently throughout the year, and they don't need to play these competitive games where they go out on the ice and they play against a team like the Sharks. Like, they're going to be able to score those goals, right? A team that might be defensively, like, weaker, that they can overthrow, in a team like Islanders, right, are going to be able to compete with. And that is where I think, like, those lack of wins that they missed out on this season, they're going to easily make up this year. So when it comes to the playoffs, like, do they make it? 1,000,000%. They went from last year being a wild card team to me seeing, like, the Jets having a faltering year, easily slotting into the top 3. I don't know if they win the division, but this is the thing about the Predators, is that this team right here kind of reminds me of the year where they won the President's Trophy, the year when the Golden Knights first season. They're kind of rubbing me like that, where they have a very solid, like, lots of goal scoring, lots of lots of skill in the top 6. The defense, having those 2 lines right there, playing most of the minutes during the night, feels like a very solid solution. UC Saros, of course, is an amazing goaltender back there. So they have, like, all the pieces to be a super competitive team throughout the regular season. To me, it's like this team is either finishing 3rd in their division or they are winning the President's Trophy. And I know that's wild to say, but I really do think that the Predators are one of those teams to look out for the President's Trophy. Marchessault and Stamkos are going to be absolutely, like, wanting to redo what they did this year. Philip Forsberg feels like he's in the part of his career that's like perfect for him to have those, like, back-to-back amazing seasons for himself. Ryan O'Reilly feels like he's just that solid, like, he doesn't need to get a ton of points. He just plays a solid game. He's a two-way centerman. That's what he does. Gustav Nyquist just feels like a solid guy. And then the younger pieces, like the Parsonen and Evangelistas of this team, feel like they're ready to have, like, that solid, not breakout, but have those big, like, solid NHL seasons that prove that they are NHL worthy. That there's just a lot of there's just a lot of good moving pieces for the Predators that feel like they're going to be a solid goal-scoring team that can outscore other teams. They have solid depth and with a good goaltender back there that already has proven himself multiple times again, that they can definitely go on a big run and be one of those teams that ends up winning the President's Trophy. And that is what I really think about the Predators. Do they win the Stanley Cup? No. And that is the big thing for this team, right? Because, sure, how far do they get in the playoffs, right? The first round, if they end up winning the division, I think they have a great opportunity against whoever is a wild card team. But if they end up second or third, it really depends. Do they play the Jets? I think they could easily beat the Jets. Do they play the Avalanche? I think the Avalanche are a horrible defensive team, and especially in the playoffs, I think a invigorated, powerful, enthusiastic, energetic, fighting hard team like the Predators could easily overwhelm them. The Stars is where I draw the line, but if they can get out of their quadrant of the Central Division, if they get past the Stars or something, and then make it to the finals where they play against the Pacific Division, I really think that they could get past whoever is from the Oilers to the Oilers. It doesn't even matter. The Pacific just sucks. So they're going to get through the Pacific Division and make it to the finals to me. It really depends on how they get out of that Central Division, because the Dallas Stars are the only true competition to me in my mind that could face off against them. But the big issue for them, and the reason they don't get it past a team like the Dallas Stars, and why they can get past a team like the Oilers or any other team that I could really name like the Avalanche, is because defense has proven to win championships. That is why Vegas, that is why Florida, that is why Colorado, that is why Tampa Bay was able to win all those championships. You need to have the offense, which they have, but the defense and goaltending. To me, UC Saros, as good as he can be during the regular season, is not that kind of goaltender to really steal them all those games and win a Stanley Cup. I don't think the defense with Brady Shea and Roman Josi is going to be great enough to really have those. Josi is not a Victor Hedman. He is not that big shutdown defenseman that can take block a ton of shots, play 40 minutes that just never stops. He's a big body that can just stop every hockey play. He can win those 2-on-1 situations. Roman Josi just isn't really that defenseman. Brady Shea, he's great offensively. He's fine in his own zone, but he's not going to be that guy either. Lauzon and Carrier to Fabro to Stastny to Luke Shen, no. They just don't have that amazing defensive core and the goaltending to boot with it. And then depth is great for the regular season, but does not rub me as the type of depth that a team like Vegas or Florida or Colorado or Tampa Bay was packing when they won the Stanley Cup. And unless they can make some moves during the regular season, or if they're not done making moves right now, to me, this team sits at a current point where they're going to be very exciting and seems like a perfect team to lose in the second round. They feel like a team that goes very hard in the regular season, maybe ends up winning the President's Trophy, but then goes into it and loses in the second round to a better rounded out team that can play good defense and better goaltending like the Dallas Stars. And that is my prediction for the Predators. So that is all I got to say. So thank you for watching this. If you've made it this far, please, I'm begging you, please subscribe. And until next time, too sweet, have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.